Hello and welcome to BYJU'S. On November 8, 2016, Prime Minister Modi addressed the nation and announced the withdrawal of 500 and 1,000 denomination notes from circulation. This Prime Minister Modi says will have a huge impact on three of the most pressing problems of our times: corruption, counterfeit, which is the fake currency, and black money. Later on in his press conference, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said that this will also help in India's transition towards a cashless society. So in this lecture, we'll talk about the impact of demonetization and whether or not it will have an impact on black money, corruption, fake currency, and what is going to be the impact of this demonetization exercise on India's transition towards a cashless society. So let's get started, and we will look at this act of demonetization from the angle of three W's: what, why, and the way forward. So let's get started, beginning with what is demonetization. In its strictest sense, demonetization is an act of stripping a currency unit of its status as a legal tender. That means you are killing a currency. This is something that happened in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, because of hyperinflation, I had to take bundles of notes with me to buy a cup of tea. I had to take bundles of notes with me to pay for a bus ride. That means because of this hyperinflation situation, the authorities in Zimbabwe decided, let's kill this currency, let's introduce a new currency. This is what is called demonetization in its strictest sense. But what the government of India has done, if we borrow the term used by former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram, it is half a demonetization. That means it is not that you are killing a currency. It is only an exchange. That means your 500 and 1,000 denomination notes will no longer be accepted as a legal tender. But if you have these 500 and 1,000 denomination notes, what you can do, go to the nearest bank, get them exchanged. And we will give you a new 500 rupee note, a new 2,000 rupee note, and over a period of time, a new 1,000 rupee note will also be introduced in circulation. That means this is not demonetization in the strictest sense of the term, but what is it? It is exchange of old notes with the new ones. But yes, in Indian parlance, we say that this is also demonetization. So what is demonetization? Demonetization is an act of stripping a currency unit of its status as a legal tender. That means you are killing a currency. But yes, what we have done, we have called upon people that you please exchange your old 500 and 1,000 denomination notes, get them exchanged with a new 500 rupee note, a new 2,000 rupee note, and later on we will also introduce a new 1,000 rupee note. But the issue is, why? What was the need to carry out this demonetization exercise? Let's look at the reasons. If you look at the period between 2011 and 2016, there was an increase in the circulation of notes of all denominations by 40%. That means there was an increase in the circulation of notes of 10 rupee, 5 rupee, 20 rupee, 50 rupee, 100 rupee, 500 denomination. There was an increase in the circulation of these notes by 40%. But if we look at the increase in the circulation of 500 rupee note, there was an increase of 76%. If we look at the increase in the circulation of 1,000 rupee note, there was an increase of 109%. But if we compare this period 2011 to 2016, the economy had grown only by 30%. That means economy had grown by 30% during this period. But we saw an increase in the circulation of notes, particularly 500 rupee and 1,000 rupee, by 76% and 109% respectively. This is what experts tell us, that this shows disproportionate increase of high denomination notes. Not just this. According to Reserve Bank of India, the data which is available as of March 2016, the volume of currency which was in circulation was pegged at 16,415 billion rupees. That means 16,415 billion worth of Indian rupees was in circulation. Fair enough. But if we look at 500 and 1,000 denomination notes, 47.8% of this 16,415 billion rupees was in the nature of 500 rupee denomination. Another 38.6% of this 16,415 billion rupee was in the form of 1000 rupee notes. That means together these 500 and 1000 rupee note constituted more than 86% of the total value of the notes which were in circulation. What does that mean? Demonetization. From midnight of 9th November 2016, 500 rupee note and 1000 rupee note would no longer be a legal tender. That means if you have these 500 and 1000 rupee notes, get them exchanged. What was the reason to pick these 500 and 1000 denomination notes? Because we saw an increase in the circulation of these two high denomination notes, which tells us that there was a disproportionate increase in these high value denomination notes. And together these two denomination notes constitute more than 86% of the value of the currency in circulation. But then why did we see this increase in the 500 and 1000 denomination notes in the circulation? According to Financial Action Task Force that looks at the criminal use of international financial system, FATS tells us that these high denomination notes are used in trafficking. That means my son has been kidnapped. My son has been kidnapped. Now I am asked for a ransom amount. This ransom amount I have to pay to the kidnappers in the form of a 500 rupee note or 1000 rupee note. Why? Because it becomes very easy to carry these high denomination notes. That means FATF is telling us that these high denomination notes have been used in money laundering, in trafficking, and also in drug trade. To explain this further, let me give you two examples. For example, I am a buyer. I want to buy a residential property, let's say a flat. Let us assume for a while that the value of this flat is 1 crore rupees. Now the owner is telling me, you pay me 70 lakh through check and 30 lakh through cash. Now this 30 lakh is unaccounted money. That means the owner is evading tax on this 30 lakh rupees. This 30 lakh rupees becomes black money. But what is the easiest way to stash this 30 lakh rupees? In the form of 500 and 1000 denomination notes, because it becomes very easy to carry these high denomination notes. This is one example of a real estate. Let's look at second example. My son is looking for an admission in an engineering or a medical college. The college authorities are telling me that yes, we will admit your ward in our institute, but for that you have to pay capitation fee. Capitation fee of 20 lakh rupees. I have to pay this 20 lakh rupees in the form of a cash. And that too in 500 and 1000 denomination notes, because it becomes easier for me to carry. It becomes easier for the college authorities to stash this money. This is black money. What is black money? Unaccounted money, for which you are evading paying of taxes. Let me give you a third example as well. For example, I'm a bureaucrat and I'm a very corrupt bureaucrat. You are a contractor. You have constructed a flyover. For that, the government has to pay you money. This is the file before me, but I am not clearing this file unless and until you pay me bribe. This bribe money you will have to pay me in 500 or 1000 denomination notes, because it becomes easier for me to stash this money and ultimately I am clearing your file. This is also black money. That means this money is not accounted for anywhere. Let me give you another example. I am a politician. And no politician can win an election without paying bribes to voters. And this bribe I am paying in the form of 500 and 1000 denomination notes mostly, because I have to lure these people to vote for me in the Indian elections. This market of black money is very huge. If we go by various estimates, some agencies tell us that the value of this black money, or parallel economy as it is called, or shadow economy, is close to 50% of Indian GDP. World Bank said it's close to 20 to 23%. There are different versions of the exact amount of the nature of this black money, but let us assume for a while it is 20% or 30%. 30% of GDP is a big amount. That means this black money is a menace. Corruption is a menace. fake currency is a menace and something had to be done to take care of these three important pressing problems of our times. The government decided, let's demonetize these 500 and 1000 denomination notes, and all these people who have these 500 and 1000 denomination notes, they will have to get these notes exchanged from the bank. But this was not a sudden decision. If we look, there was a pattern. That means there was a planned script which the government was following. First up, Prime Minister launched his ambitious program of Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, encouraging every single individual in this country who does not have a bank account to open a bank account. And that too is a no-frills account. That means even if you have a zero balance in your account, the account will continue. It is not mandatory to maintain a minimum balance to continue with this account. This scheme entered into the Guinness Book of World Records. The highest number of accounts were opened under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, encouraging every single individual in this country to open a bank account and link this bank account with Aadhaar. Aadhaar is a unique identification number. That means we can be sure that there are no multiple accounts in the name of a single individual. That means we can be assured that no individual will have multiple accounts opened under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. Open an account under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, link it with an Aadhaar, we will be assured of your identity. Then Prime Minister Modi launched an amnesty scheme, income disclosure scheme. Dear citizens of this country, even if you have black money, even if you have unaccounted money, please declare your unaccounted wealth. On that, you will have to pay taxes, let's say 45% tax, but the remaining part you can keep to yourself. This is one-time amnesty we are providing you. Please disclose your income so that we can tax your black money, but the remaining part of this black money you can keep to yourself. Prime Minister did give a hint. Prime Minister said, don't force me to take a drastic step after income disclosure scheme. And the government of India got more than 65,000 crore rupees from this income disclosure scheme. And Prime Minister followed it up with demonetization. Now those individuals who have 500 and 1000 denomination notes, we gave you an opportunity. The opportunity was that you declare your income, pay tax on your income, and the remaining part of this money keep to yourself. But since you have not done that, let us demonetize all these 500 and 1000 rupee notes. If you have unaccounted money now and you will exchange this unaccounted money with the bank will get to know about that. You will have to pay tax on that, and also you may be subjected to conviction. That means in one single sweep, Prime Minister Modi's decision to demonetize 500 and 1000 denomination notes rendered 86% of the currency in circulation a piece of trash. Now let us look at this impact of demonetization on fake currency, on corruption, on black money, and also on India's transition towards a cashless economy. But first up, fake currency. What do we mean by fake currency? This is a legitimate 1000 rupee note. An exact replica of this 1000 rupee note can also be printed and minted. It is absolutely possible. The most counterfeited note in this world is a US dollar. So definitely it is possible to print and mint fake currency. Let us look at this from a different angle. The paper that RBI gets to print and mint the currency notes, the tender to supply this paper is given to a London-based company, and the same London-based company also supplies paper material to print Pakistani rupee. Now what the government is alleging? That Pakistan is printing fake Indian currency and is using this fake currency to fund separatists in our country, to fund terrorist organizations in our country, to fund international activities in this country, to fund sleeper cells in this country, which are an important part of this entire terrorist network. That means something was to be done to curb this menace of fake currency. And this demonetization of 500 and 1000 denomination notes will kill this fake currency which has been generated till now, because it is easier. That means in one single swoop, Prime Minister Modi's decision of demonetization has killed the fake currency that was in circulation in our economy. That means if you have fake 500 or 1000 denomination notes, you have to get them exchanged. From where? from the banks, banks will come to know that this is a fake note, and ultimately these fake currency notes will be extinguished. But there is a problem. New 500 rupee notes are there in circulation now. New 2000 rupee notes are also in circulation. Later on, we will have a new 1000 rupee note also in the circulation. The system has not changed. The system is still the same. That means what we have done, we have only eradicated fake currency which was generated till now. But what will happen later on? Within a year, or let's say 2 years, the same replica of 2000 denomination notes, 1000 denomination notes, 500 denomination notes will be further printed. That means we have not eradicated fake currency in its entirety. We have only extinguished fake currency which was generated by now, and later on, within 2 years, new fake currency notes will also be in circulation. What could have been done? The only solution is that we should make it difficult and we should make it costly to print fake currency. For example, to print a 1000 rupee note, the cost to print a 1000 rupee note is 3 rupees. That means it takes 3 rupees to print a 1000 rupee note. Fair enough, that means 0.3% of the face value. Very good. But if we print a 10 rupee note, the cost to print a 10 rupee note is 96 paise. That means 9.6% of the face value. What could have been done? If I go by the back of the envelope calculation, the highest denomination note in Indian economy should be 250 rupees. Why? Because on an average, 250 rupees are spent by Indian households in this country. What is the need to print a 2000 rupee note? What is the need to bring back 1000 rupee note in the circulation? What is the need to bring back 500 rupee note in the circulation? That means over a period of time, we will have fake notes of these 2000, 1000 and 500 denomination notes back in the circulation. All we could have done is to make it difficult and costly to print this money. So what could have been done? 500, 1000, 2000 rupee notes should be permanently banned. Alternatives, the maximum denomination note should be 250 because that is what the average Indian household spends per day. And it becomes very costly to print this 250 rupee note. A new 250 rupee note with new security features that would take care of the fake currency problem to a large extent. Still, we cannot solve the problem of fake currency, but we will make it difficult for these international elements to print fake currency. That means one objective of Prime Minister Modi, that it will kill fake currency, not entirely true. Yes, fake currency which has been generated till now will be extinguished, but we still have given them the opportunity to print and mint more fake currency notes, but only after, let's say, 1.5 years or 2 years. That means one option we have taken into account, which is of fake currency. Let's look at this issue of fake currency from another angle. National Investigation Agency data tells us that the value of fake currency that is in circulation is 400 crore. 400 crore we wanted to extinguish from the market. That means the gain is less, but the pain for the common man is huge. What is this pain? I'm going to tell you towards the end of this lecture. But one thing is pretty clear. This demonetization exercise has an impact on fake currency, yes, but only that fake currency which was generated till now. Since the system is still the same, only it will take more time for these international elements to print fake currency notes. But since the system is still the same, we cannot stop fake currency notes. What we can do, we can make it difficult for these people to print and mint fake currency notes. And what is the alternative for that? Let's have 250 as the highest denomination note in this country. Let's look at another issue, corruption. I gave you an example wherein I said I am a corrupt bureaucrat and I'm asking for the bribe, and that too in the form of 500 rupee notes and 1000 rupee notes. Why in these two denomination notes? Because it becomes easier for you to carry this money. It becomes easier for me to stash this money. Fair enough. then will it not become easier to indulge in corruption with the help of new 2,000 rupees in the market? Two officials of the Kandla Port Trust were arrested few days back, and 2.9 lakh rupees in 2,000 denomination notes were confiscated from them. So within few days of this demonetization exercise, new techniques have been developed by these corrupt officers to indulge in corruption. That means this claim that demonetization exercise will kill corruption in this country is a wishful thinking. Those who believe in this are living in a fool's paradise. Very recently, after this demonetization exercise, there are reports that officials are asking for bribes in the form of 100 rupee notes. So that means this exercise will not in any manner prevent corruption in this country. But yes, it will send a signal to these corrupt officials that if you are taking bribes in the form of currency notes, quickly convert them into other assets, because cash has now been demonized. That means demonetization as a tool to fight corruption in our society is not going to yield any significant results. So fake currency is taken care of, corruption angle is taken care of. Let's look at black money. Now, what is this black money? Black money is nothing but unaccounted money, unaccounted wealth, for which you are evading paying taxes. This I have explained with the help of few examples. Now let us look at the data. In his report, The Drivers and Dynamics of Illicit Financial Flows from India from the period 1948 till 2008, Mr. Devkar, who works with a Washington-based think tank, what is he telling us? He tells us that India lost a total of 213 billion US dollars due to illicit flows in this period. In this period from 1948 to 2008, India lost $213 billion through these illicit flows. The total volume of illicit assets held abroad represents about 72% of the size of India's black money. And this size of India's black money is pegged at 50% of India's GDP. What is Mr. Devkar telling us? He's telling us if you look at the data of our GDP, 50% of India's GDP, if we convert into numbers, that is the size and volume of black money. But out of this whole volume of black money, 72% of this black money is held abroad. Only 28% is held within India. That means 72% of the black money is abroad, not in India. Let's look at another data, the World Bank data. The year was 2000, World Bank came out with its report. Black money is 23.1% of India's GDP. The same World Bank in its 2007 year report is telling us that black money is 20.7% of India's GDP. Whether it is 20% or whether it is 50%, the number is huge. And this black money has to be tackled. But will this exercise of demonetization tackle black money? Perhaps not. Only 6% of the unaccounted money is held in the form of cash. If I have black money in the form of cash, I'm quickly converting it into gold. I'm converting it into real estate. I'm converting it in the form of a land, or I'm stashing this money in foreign accounts in Switzerland, Cayman Islands, Mauritius, and in other tax havens. People in this country have black money, but in Panama. Panama Papers were leaked. And there was a whole list of Indians who have stashed money in the foreign accounts. HSBC came up with its list of 800 people who have stashed money in foreign accounts abroad. Will this demonetization exercise bring back this black money from abroad? Perhaps no. Then why has government taken such a drastic step? There is an economic sense to this, and I'll tell you how. I told you that rupees 16,415 billion rupee is in circulation. Whenever RBI prints the money, it keeps a track of the volume of notes that are in circulation. That means RBI knows that 16,415 billion rupee is in circulation. Not all of this is black, but yes, a significant percentage will be black. Whatever black money people have, they will have to exchange their old 500 and 1000 rupee note, and they have to go through the banking system, and they will, because they have to exchange their old notes with the new notes. Those who are having legitimate money will have no reason to worry. They will get their old notes, and exchange them with the new notes, no problem at all. But those who have black money, those who have unaccounted money in the form of cash, they are in trouble. But Indians are also very smart. Those who are holding money in the form of cash, and this is a black money, they will split this money into various parts. If I am an employer, I will ask 10 of my employees, take 2 lakh rupees, deposit into your bank account and pay me later. This is happening. This is not a myth. Again, I'm giving a significant part of this black money to a farmer. Farmer does not have to pay income tax, so government will not question where from did you get this money. Also, I am depositing money into various Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana accounts of my relatives, of my friends, of my employees. And this is a reality. Because the data tells us that the bank accounts which were opened under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana and they were lying dormant for so many months, they have suddenly seen activity. That means money has been deposited in these dormant Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana account, and this could be black money. But yes, most of the money which is in circulation will come back through the banking system, but some of it may not. And this is where the government is calculating. Some of this money, which is illegitimate money, black money, unaccounted money, where there are no opportunities for these people to exchange this money, what will happen to these notes? The RBI will extinguish its liability. Now, what does that mean? If you look at a note, in the note it is written, I promise to pay the bearer the sum of 1000 rupee or 500 rupee. That means it is the obligation of RBI to give this money when this legal tender is submitted to RBI. I am submitting 1000 rupee note to RBI, RBI has to pay me. Clear? But if, let us assume that 1000 billion rupee notes are not brought back into the banking system, that means RBI will extinguish its liability. And that money which has not come back into the banking system, RBI will create a reserve of this money. That means this will be a huge amount of money, a significant amount of money, and this money can be used by the government to fund social security schemes, to fund infrastructure, to build universities and colleges in this country. That means the financial crunch that government was facing, that will be taken care of. This is the economic sense with which the government has taken this decision. That means 16,415 billion rupee notes are in circulation. Yes, most of it will come back because there are various means through which you can channelize your money and get the notes exchanged. But some of it will not come back into the banking system. And this amount of money, which will not come back into the banking system, into the financial system, RBI will extinguish its liability and then create a reserve of that. This is a very good economic sense with which the government has taken this decision. But it is now to be seen exactly what is the value of these notes which have not been brought back into the banking system. If the number is large enough, if the value is large enough, if the volume is large enough, it is a win-win situation for the government, and government deserves a pat on the back. But black money problem is not only in the form of a cash. Black money is held abroad in the form of foreign bank accounts. Government has to take a step to bring back that money into the economy. But because of this exercise, who are the real sufferers? All these big businessmen have hailed the decision of Prime Minister Modi. That means they are not the real sufferers. Who are the real sufferers of this demonetization exercise? If 86% of the currency in circulation is in one single step rendered useless, who will be impacted? Homemakers, sex workers, daily wagers, in a sense, the Aam Aadmi of this country. Now, how are they real sufferers? I'm a daily wager. I work in a company where I'm paid on a daily basis in the form of a cash. My company does not have 2000 rupee notes or new 500 rupee notes. I'm not paid. I had some notes of 500 and 1000 denomination, which I want to get exchanged. And then I'm in the queue. If we look at the data, the number of bank branches that we have in this country, and let us assume for a while that outside every bank branch, per day there are 500 people queuing, That means there are 8 to 9 crore people waiting outside the bank branch to get their legitimate money exchanged. The government tells us that there are 1,20,000 ATMs functional. Let us accept this figure of the government at its face value. And let us assume that there are 500 people waiting outside these ATMs, queuing up to get their money because they don't have any cash. 86% of the cash in circulation is rendered useless in one single step. That means there are 13 crore people waiting outside the bank branches and ATMs in this country, waiting to get their legitimate money exchanged into new notes. Daily wagers, who should have been working, they are now queuing outside the banks. Sex workers who should have been earning their money are waiting outside banks and ATMs. That means people are losing their livelihood. Right to livelihood is a fundamental right under right to life. Article 21 of Indian Constitution, which talks about right to life, it is one of the most important fundamental rights in our Constitution. Supreme Court has said right to life does not mean physical act of breathing. It's not just a physical act of breathing. Right to life means right to live with dignity. Right to live with dignity means right to livelihood. Right to livelihood is a fundamental right. With one single executive decision, the government has snatched right to livelihood of 13 crore people in this country. This is a violation of fundamental rights. That means what are we talking about here? Demonetization. And the Indian sense of demonetization is that old 500 and 1000 denomination notes are to be exchanged with new 500, new 2000 denomination notes. This is what demonetization is. Government tells us that demonetization will have an impact on fake currency. Yes, it will have an impact on fake currency, but the fake currency which was generated till now. If you are introducing 2000 rupee note, it will make it even easier for these international elements to print more and more fake currency. Yes, that will take time, but after let's say 1.5 years or 2 years, new fake currency notes will be there in circulation. Government tells us that it will fight corruption. It won't. Because now you are making it easier for the corrupt people to get bribes in the form of 2000 rupee notes. The government tells us that it will fight black money. Yes, it will fight black money, but only a small portion of that money which is in the form of a cash. But the black money which is hoarded outside, black money which is hoarded in the form of land deals, real estate, gold, that will not be taken care of by this demonetization exercise. And the result is, it has caused serious inconvenience to millions of people in this country. The rich are not the real sufferers of this exercise. The real sufferers are the poor, underprivileged, homemakers, sex workers, daily wagers in our country. But now let's look at the fourth issue. Finance Minister tells us that it will have an impact on India's transition towards a cashless economy. So that means this cash is a problem. Let us move towards a cashless economy so that we can minimize our dependence on this cash and we can move towards a cashless economy. Let's look at the data. There is no such thing as cashless economy anywhere in the world. United States is a $21 trillion economy. 8.6% of this 21 trillion is in the form of a cash. That means percentage cash is 8.6%. China, $14 trillion economy, percentage cash 12.7%. Japan, $4.5 trillion economy, cash percentage 11. India, $2.25 trillion economy, cash percentage 22. Sweden is a country which can be termed as close to a cashless economy. But even there, the cash percentage is 3. That means we can't suddenly, with one single decision, move towards a cashless economy. But yes, a good beginning has been made. This is where I think one of the unintended consequences of this demonetization exercise is that it has inculcated a behavioral change in Indians. Sweden can be termed as close to cashless economy, but even there, the percentage cash is 3. That means 3% of the economy of Sweden is in the form of cash in circulation. That means no country with one single step can overnight transform itself into a cashless economy. But yes, a beginning has been made. And this is where Prime Minister Modi deserves a pat on the back. Because I think one of the unintended consequences of this demonetization exercise is that it has inculcated a behavioral change amongst Indians. People are today using Paytm. I'm not endorsing Paytm, by the way, but people are using Paytm. People are using cards, credit cards, debit cards. And if this cash crunch continues over a period of time, people of this country, at least some, may get used to Paytm and other payment solutions, and they will rely less on cash. And this is one of the most important takeaways from this demonetization exercise. It might inculcate a behavioral change in the minds of the Indians. That is one thing. But no country can overnight transform itself into a cashless economy. So we have taken into account all the claims made by the government that this will tackle fake currency, corruption, black money, and this will help in India's move towards a cashless economy. We have taken all these factors into account. But now let us look at this differently. Some of you may be criticizing me that I'm a critical person and criticizing the government decision, which is a landmark decision. And this person is criticizing the government decision without suggesting alternatives, without telling us what could have been done. I'll tell you what could have been done. 8th of November 2016, Prime Minister Modi is telling us 500 and 1000 denomination notes would no longer be legal tenders. Fair enough, definitely it should have been done. But then the government should also have told us that these old 500 and 1000 denomination notes you can use to buy seeds, to buy fertilizers, to buy groceries, to buy medicines, to buy petrol. Yes, petrol, medicine, these are exemptions. But I'm telling you, the government should have allowed the usage of these 500 and 1000 denomination notes for day-to-day activities. But at the same time, these 500 and 1000 denomination notes will not be used to purchase jewelry. 500, 1000 denomination notes will not be used to purchase electronic items. These old notes will not be used to carry out cash transactions to buy land or real estate property. That means these real sufferers who are queuing up outside the banks, they don't need cash to buy an iPhone. They don't need cash to buy jewelry. They need cash to buy day-to-day items, to feed their family, to provide food for their family. They should have been allowed to use their old notes to buy day-to-day items, but ban cash transactions to purchase jewelry, to purchase electronic items. In fact, cash transactions above a certain limit should be banned altogether. If, for example, I am withdrawing money from ATM in excess of 10,000 rupees per day, levy should be imposed on me. If levy is to be imposed on me and I want to withdraw cash about 10,000 rupees, this will discourage me from withdrawing money from the ATM. Instead, I will switch to card payment. Instead, I will switch to check payment. So this will have a strong impact on the generation of black money in the economy. Now you will tell me that if government would have allowed cash transactions to purchase day-to-day items, this window would have been misused by the people. I'll tell you, even without this window, misuse has taken place. Go to Delhi, Mumbai and other metropolitan areas, you will see that jewelers are selling their jewelry at 55,000 rupees per 10 gram. The receipt that I'm getting is dated 7th November or 6th November or 5th November, before this demonetization exercise was announced. That means I had the black money. Yes, with this black money, I'm going to a jeweler, I'm buying some gold items, I'm getting a pre-dated invoice. I'm going to an electronic shop to buy an iPhone, electronic items, and the owner of this shop is giving me a pre-dated invoice. That means even without this window, the rich who are the hoarders of black money in the form of a cash, they are impactless. That means even without this window, the rich in this country who are the hoarders of black money in cash, they are unimpacted. But the real impact is on those who are not holding black money, who are holding legitimate money in their bank accounts, but they cannot withdraw that money above a certain limit. Now let us look at another issue. Why was this 2000 denomination note introduced? The government is not coming up with an answer, a definitive answer, but I will give you an answer why government came up with this 2000 denomination note. Bharatiya Reserve Bank Note Mudran Private Limited. It's a government company which used to print 1000 rupee notes and now is printing 2000 denomination notes. The capacity of this company is 133 crore notes a month. That means if there are 16,415 million rupees in circulation, there are close to 2100 crore notes, physical notes in circulation. The capacity of this company to print money is 133 crore notes per month if the employees are working on double shifts. One set of employees working for 8 hours, another set of employees working for another 8 hours, and then the combined capacity is 133 crore notes per month. Even if we introduce another shift, the employees are working on 3 shifts, still only 200 crore notes can be printed per month. That means with this exercise, it will take 2 months to print 1000 denomination notes back into the circulation. So the government decided, let's reduce this time period. If it takes 2 months to print 1000 rupee notes with 3 shifts in place, let us introduce 2000 denomination notes so that the time it will take to inject these 2000 rupee notes in the Indian economy would be lessened by half. It will take another 1 month. That is why they introduced this 2000 rupee note. But the problem is even complicated vis-a-vis a 500 rupee note. Why? Security Printing and Minting Corporation of India, which prints 500 rupee notes, the capacity of this company is 100 crore notes a month. That means if 86% of the notes in circulation are useless today, to bring back an equal amount of money into the circulation, it will take at least by May 2017 to stabilize the cash situation. That means till May 2017, there will be cash crunch in Indian economy. That is the worrying part. Why is there a worry? There is a talk among the manufacturers of two-wheelers. Mostly these two-wheelers are sold in the rural areas. When people do not have the cash, because there is a limit, you can withdraw 2500 from an ATM, you can withdraw 4000 from the bank or 10,000 from the bank. Since there is a limit to the amount of money which you can withdraw from the bank, ultimately there will be no buyers for these two-wheelers in our rural economy, and these manufacturers are telling newspapers that they will scale down the production. And if they will scale down the production, GDP will take a hit. A respected Mumbai-based organization is telling us that in the next quarter, the GDP of India will come crashing down to 0.5%. 0.5% if this cash situation is not taken care of urgently. Not just this. The construction sector is expected to be worst hit. Sand, cement, these are mostly cash transaction deals. Construction sector would take a hit, and it will impact the sale of construction materials such as cement and steel. When the construction will take a hit, GDP will take a hit. Let's look at another issue. Trade and manufacturing bodies have reported an over 50% drop in economic activity due to this monetary shock. Let's look at something else. Rural wage growth was already down to zero. Now, because of this monetary shock, it will lead to further shrinkage in rural incomes and is bound to result in more joblessness. Right now, we are in a season of Rabi sowing. Rabi crops are to be sown. Farmers, instead of sowing these Rabi crops, are queuing outside the banks because they don't have cash to purchase seeds, to purchase fertilizers. Figures are telling us that we have already lost half of the 20-day window which is available for sowing. This will reduce the productivity of rabi crops, and ultimately this could cause both demand as well as supply shock in the medium term. So what have we understood as of now? We talked about demonetization, and we did a critical analysis of the claims made by the government that demonetization will have an impact on these aspects. Fake currency, corruption, cashless economy, we talked about that. Yes, black money in the form of a cash. Some part of this black money will go back into the banking system. The remaining part, the RBI will extinguish its liability. But what about black money which is held abroad? Or how can we prevent the generation of black money? How can we curb the generation of this black money? For that, let's look at the possible solutions. And the first radical solution that I'm proposing is abolish income tax. I'm a salaried employee. I get the salary every month and I pay an income tax on that. I can't do much about this. Maximum I can save up to 1.5 lakh rupees. That's all. But for those who are not salaried, whose income fluctuates, construction industry, real estate, business class people, since the rate of income tax is very high in this country, they use every possible avenue under the sun to evade paying the exact income tax. That means they fake their income, they deflate their income so that they don't have to pay the exact income tax. If income tax is abolished in this country, it will leave no incentive for the people to deflate their income and evade paying taxes. But now you will ask me, will the government not lose a significant amount of its revenue if income tax is abolished? Let's look at this differently. Let us assume for a while that I pay 40,000 rupees per month as income tax. If income tax is abolished, what will happen to this 40,000 rupee? Two things. Either I can deposit it in my savings bank account. If I'm depositing it in my savings bank account, that means savings rate in the economy will increase. If the savings rate in the economy increases, that means more money is available for the banks to lend and lend at a cheaper rate. Productive economic activity in this country will increase, GDP will grow. Now let us assume for a while that I'm not saving this money in my savings bank account, I am spending this money. Even if I'm spending this money, I'm buying a new car, I'm buying a new motorcycle, new electronic gadgets. That means I'm buying more and more items. That means the demand for these items will go up. When the demand goes up, that means the production activity will also go up. That means the manufacturing activity will also grow up. That means ultimately more and more jobs will be created in the Indian economy. This is a win-win situation for everybody. Abolish income tax. But yes, then government will have to balance its books and they will have to look at alternate sources of income. But one radical solution is, yes, abolish income tax. Second, let's have mutual assistance pacts. For example, this is something that Germany did. This is something that France did. Let's have a mutual assistance pacts with these tax haven countries, governments. Let's collaborate with them so that they can share the account details of those Indians who are holding illegitimate accounts in their countries, so that we can bring this money back into the economy. We don't need 15 lakhs in our bank accounts, but we need this black money back into the economy so that government can use this money to fund infrastructure projects in this country, to build quality institutions in this country. HSBC, as I said, released a list of 800 people who are holding illegitimate bank accounts. Nothing has been done. Lalit Modi is outside the country. Vijay Mallya's loan has been written off by State Bank of India. This will not send a good signal to the people outside. If we have to tackle black money, if we have to bring this black money back, let's have mutual assistance pacts with these governments so that we can bring the money back. If even this will fail, diamond cuts diamond. That's the old adage. Let's bribe. Let's bribe these high officials of these banks so that they can share details of those Indians who are holding illegitimate accounts in their banks, and then we can launch investigation and bring this money back. Abolish income tax, mutual assistance pacts. Third, bribery. and one of the biggest weapons that government can use, UN Convention Against Corruption of 2005. This was successfully employed by Philippines, by Egypt, by many other countries in the past. India is a signatory to this convention. India has ratified this convention as well. Under this convention, Parliament of this country can pass a law stating, let's say, that there are illegal, illegitimate bank accounts in 70 countries of the world. The Parliament can pass a law that all these bank accounts are hereby nationalized. When these banks are nationalized, that means these are the properties of the government of India, and then United Nations is under obligation to help India to get this money back. This is what is required. Fifth, ban P-notes, participatory notes. I'm having black money. I'm not keeping this black money in the form of cash. I'm buying gold, jewelry, real estate properties, land. I'm holding it outside, or I'm investing in Indian shares. But then you will tell me that the government will come to know about this, because every individual who has to invest in the stock markets will have to be registered with SEBI, Securities and Exchange Board of India, which is the stock market regulator in this country. Every individual, every organization will have to get registered with SEBI in order to invest in the stock market. But then there is a loophole. P-notes. I can invest through these P-notes in the Indian stock market, and I will not be in a position to disclose my identity. That means people are coming, investing in Indian stock market, and government is not knowing the identity of these people who are investing in the stock market because of this P-notes. That means this black money is also channelized back into Indian economy through these P-notes in Indian stock market. Ban these P-notes, a significant impact will be made on black money. But then all these solutions look very simplistic in nature. This any government can do, implement, and all the problems are solved. Then why is this government not doing this? Why previous governments did not take help from these instruments? The reason is politics. There are people who are saying today that this demonetization exercise was carried out by the government because of the impending elections in UP and Punjab. Let's not get into that political argument. There may be some justification in that. But let's leave that as it is. If I want to contest Lok Sabha election in this country, there is a limit of 40 lakh rupees. Beyond this 40 lakh rupees, I cannot spend even a single penny. In 2014 Lok Sabha elections, Center for Media Studies is telling us that officially 7,000 to 8,000 crore rupees was spent. Official numbers are 7,000 to 8,000 crore rupees. But unofficially, 30,000 crore rupee was spent in Indian election of 2014. Where did this money come from? This is black money. Real estate walas, who are the holders of black money in cash, they are funding these political parties. Black money owners who are holding these illegitimate, illegal bank accounts abroad, they are funding these political parties. They are funding these political parties so that these political parties, once they come and form the government, they won't act against them. So a radical solution could be, let's have state funding of Indian elections. Let all the political parties come together and take a decision that yes, we agree by state funding of Indian elections, black money menace will be taken care of to a large extent. But now let's look at something else as well. When we heard of people dying while they are waiting in queues to get their money exchanged, the argument that was put forward was that there are soldiers who are also dying on the borders, preventing and safeguarding our borders. This is a very, very wrong analogy to make. The sacrifices of our martyrs, the sacrifices of our soldiers at the borders, they are too sacred to be compared to the long waiting queues outside the bank branches and ATMs. Let's not demean the sacrifices of our soldiers. Please spare the soldier. Then there are some other statements that we have been witnessing in the past. People who criticize the government that we have to wait in long queues for the whole day to get our money from the bank. And these people have been criticized saying, if you can wait outside multiplexes for your tickets, if you can wait outside the Coldplay concert, why can't you wait outside the bank ATMs and branches for the nation? Now, this is a very trite argument. Why? This is like asking a rape victim, you have had sex before? You have had an active sex life? If you have had sex before, rape is also sex. But they forget to explain that rape is forced, sex is voluntary. Waiting outside Coldplay concert is a voluntary act. Waiting outside the ATM queue is a forced act. Force and democracy do not go hand in hand. But then there are also people who are saying, legal experts are challenging the validity of this demonetization exercise. When demonetization exercise was carried out in 1978 by the Janata Party government, an ordinance was passed. An ordinance was promulgated by the president to carry out that demonetization exercise, wherein 10,000 rupee notes, 5,000 rupee notes were declared illegal tenders. But then today, no law was passed, no ordinance was passed to carry out this demonetization exercise. RBI Act talks about withdrawal of certain series of notes, not the entire denomination. RBI Act only talks about that you can withdraw a particular series of notes from circulation. You cannot discard the entire denomination. Illegal act? Perhaps. That is why there are litigations pending in the court of law. Supreme Court has even said that if this cash crunch situation will not be taken care of, there may be riots in this country. Let's hope and let's pray that we don't reach that situation. But be that as it may, let's look at another argument. I am a genuine taxpayer. I pay my income tax, I pay all these taxes and then deposit my money in the bank. But the government is telling me that you can't withdraw beyond a certain limit. This is my legitimate money. Article 300A telling me that nobody can be deprived of his property except by authority of law. That means a law should have been passed by the parliament or an ordinance should have been promulgated by the president. Only then you can prescribe, you can impose these limits on the people of this country. Mere executive decision is illegal. These are not my words. These are the words of constitutional experts who are telling us that this may be an illegal act by the government. Let's see what the Supreme Court will have to say about this. But let me end this lecture by a quote by a famous economist, John Keynes. John Keynes tells us that in the long run, we are all dead. But this demonetization exercise may even kill us in the medium term. Let's hope the cash crunch situation is taken care of sooner rather than later to prevent what Supreme Court is anticipating, riots in this country. Thank you for watching.